Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session. Today we will meditate on honesty. We will do an analytical meditation on honesty as part of the 16 guidelines for a happy life meditations. So as usual, we'll have first, we'll do a 5 minutes or 10 minutes placement meditation, just to arrive in front of our devices and here on the cushion so that our mind is fully focused for the analytical part of the meditation. Good evening. After the settling meditation, we'll have also a time to discuss among ourselves what is our experience of honesty and the challenges we might have with honesty and so forth. Then we will do the analytical meditation for about 15-20 minutes, and then again we'll have a time to exchange about what the effect the meditation could have had on us, and also is a time to share feedback, as this is a pilot series of meditations. Actually, the 16 guidelines for a happy life have been around for many, many years, but these meditations are a pilot project from the Foundation for the Development of Compassion and Wisdom. So we are actually testing these meditations before they will be actually launched next year and available for all the FPMT centers around the world. So the FPMT is the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana tradition. And we have about 130 centers, projects, and services around the world. And the Foundation for the Development of Compassion and Wisdom is one of these projects, one of the 130 projects of the FPMT. So, without further ado, let us start the settling meditation. So as usual, during this meditation, we'll do a body scan. This can help us to release any physical tension that is stored in the body. You can use your in-breath to draw attention to a specific area of the body, and the out-breath to relax and release any tension that you can find in that area. The relaxation of both body and mind is central to the practice of meditation. The starting point is to notice your posture. Posture is very important when doing meditation because of the close connection that there is between the body and the mind. Sitting in a comfortable posture allows the body to be still and relaxed, and this helps the mind to be stilled and relaxed as well. If possible, sit on the floor with your legs crossed. If you're sitting on a chair, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're sitting upright with your knees a few inches apart and both your feet flat on the floor. If the chair is a little bit too high for your feet to touch the floor, you can place a cushion under your feet so that they are both flat. And if you're sitting on the chair, make sure not to lean against the support of the chair and not leaning forward either. The idea is to be naturally upright. Your hands, you can rest them up to you, whether you want to rest them on your lap or on your knees, palms up, palms down, whatever feels comfortable today. The back should be naturally upright but not stiff. The arms and shoulders should be relaxed. You can drop your chin slightly forward so that the neck stretches a little and it relaxes it. Gaze gently downwards in a way that avoids visual distractions. Or if you prefer, you can lightly close your eyes. Now that you are comfortably seated, turn your attention to the breath as it enters and leaves the body. Let us start by taking 3 long, slow breaths and allow the air to enter deeply so that your stomach rises and falls with each breath. Now simply observe your breath in its natural rhythm as it enters and leaves the body. You don't need to do anything to change or control the breath, just observe it. Now the body scan begins by focusing your attention at the top of your head. It might help to visualize a small circular area of about 4 inches in diameter and see if you can feel a complete sense of relaxation in this area, the top of the head. Allow this sense of relaxation to extend down below the actual surface of the head. Gently and slowly, imagine this area enlarging until it covers the entire top of your head. Feel how the skin and the hair and the entire top of the head become completely relaxed. As you breathe in, gently strengthen your focus of attention. As you breathe out, gently let go of any tension you might observe. This zone of relaxation then expands to the left side of your head, including the ear, and it slowly expands to the back of the head, and then to the right side of the head, including the right ear. Take your time and allow this to happen. Now feel the relaxation flowing down over the forehead, relaxing the muscles of the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, and the rest of the face, including the mouth and jaw. Relax the internal part of the mouth as well. Rest here for a moment with the sensation that your entire head is completely relaxed, inside and out. Next, allow this sense of relaxation to travel gently down through the throat and the neck. And then to the left shoulder, traveling down the left arm passing through the elbow to the wrist, and then onto the tips of the fingers of your left hand. Take some time to allow this to happen. When you have reached the tips of the fingers of your left hand, pause for a moment and observe if the left arm feels any different from the right arm. Now allow this feeling of relaxation to travel down your right shoulder, down the arm, passing through the elbow, to the wrist, and then down to the tips of the fingers of your right hand. Take some time to allow this to happen. As you breathe in, gently focus your attention. As you breathe out, gently let go of any tension you might observe. Next, allow this relaxation to expand down your spine, first spreading to the left upper side of your back, and then to the right side. Then it spreads down to the lower part of your back, again first to the left side and then to the right side. When you have completed this, turn your attention back to the front of your body and allow the chest to relax. Relax the diaphragm and move downwards to relax the abdomen and the internal organs. Then relax your hips. Take your time in allowing this to happen. Now pause for a moment to enjoy this feeling of relaxation in your entire upper body, inside and out. Now allow this sense of relaxation to move down into the left leg, traveling through the thigh, to the knee, and the calf, and the ankle, and then right down to the tips of the toes of your left foot. Take your time, allowing this to happen. When you have reached the tips of the toes of your left foot, pause for a moment and observe if the left leg feels any different from the right one. Then let the feeling of relaxation travel down your right leg, through the thigh, to the knee, to the calf and the ankle, and then right down to the tips of the toes. Take your time in allowing this to happen. And now take a moment to observe your entire body. Is it completely relaxed? Use your in-breath to notice any tension that you might still be feeling anywhere in the body. And then on the out-breath, let this tension go naturally. Don't struggle with it. Don't force it. Simply let it leave on your out-breath. Simply let it go. Now that you have settled your mind a little bit, ask yourself, why am I here for this session? Is your motivation for self or for others? Is it for the benefit of the few or the many? Is it for now, today, or for the future? Explore how it feels to broaden your motivation, to include the happiness of others. For instance, I would like this session to be meaningful and beneficial, to bring lasting happiness for myself and for others. As you focus on this, feel it resonate through your body and mind. Now, to conclude the practice, relax your posture and take a moment to notice and enjoy any sense of harmony and ease that this practice might have brought to your body and mind. Okay, I hope you are not sleeping. Usually actually scanning the body from top to bottom makes some people fall asleep. So this is one of the feedback I will give to the FDCW to maybe do it from bottom to up. Because then we are half awake for the meditation, the analytical meditation. Okay, so today we'll talk about honesty, and for those who come to these sessions for the first time, maybe let me explain a little bit about the 16 guidelines. Actually, they come from a text that was composed by the king of Tibet in the 7th century, King Songtsen Gompo. Back then, the Tibetan nation was like, people were a bit violent. It was like a warlike nation, you know. And these texts really helped them to become, you know, the peaceful Tibet that we know, and very kind people and so forth. So, but of course, this text was a Buddhist text, and the Foundation for the Development of Compassion and Wisdom is the secular branch of our organization, totally non-religious. So they looked at this text, they looked at these 16 points, and they just extracted the essence of the 16 values that that most of us already possess, you know, and we can just strengthen them by reflecting on them, meditating on them. So actually, this book about the 16 guidelines has been around for many years with the non-religious values, the totally secular approach. And these series of meditations are actually a new project of the FDCW. We are trying them out, and yeah, they are looking for feedback. And one of the feedbacks that I will give is that maybe from top to bottom is a little bit too sleepy. Okay, so now what we will do is that we'll have some time to talk about honesty. And before that, let me introduce the topic, especially how it is presented in the 16 guidelines. So they say that the honesty is an opportunity to move through the world gracefully without harming other people. To be honest is to cherish the needs and wishes of someone else. It is a statement that we care about another person's welfare. Honesty is a personal choice that arises every time that human beings connect with one another. Each individual has the opportunity to be straightforward and honest in their dealings with other people, regardless of their health, family situation, possessions, or resources. In doing so, they help to create a culture of honesty for everyone. Honesty goes beyond the mere act of telling the truth. It encompasses a deeper understanding of integrity, authenticity, and ethical conduct. Honesty is not a rigid adherence to facts alone. It encompasses a sincere reflection of our thoughts, intentions, and actions. It requires us to align our words and deeds with our core values, embracing transparency, and accountability in all aspects of our lives. At its essence, honesty involves self-reflection and introspection. It requires us to be honest with ourselves, acknowledging our strengths, our weaknesses, and areas for growth. When we are truthful with ourselves, we can embark on a journey of personal development and self-improvement. It is through this internal honesty that we gain the clarity and self-awareness that are necessary to navigate our interactions with others. Having an honest conscience is a pleasure and a relief. Honesty is accepting responsibility and flourishes when we have a strong sense of personal integrity and hold ourselves accountable to the values that we cherish. Integrating regular self-reflection, meditation, and mindfulness into our lives can help us to stay aligned with our moral compass. In a world that thrives on trust, honesty serves as the ethical foundation upon which a trustworthy society is built. It is through honesty that we establish a social fabric of integrity, reliability, and transparency. So this is how the 16 guidelines introduce the topic of honesty. And as usual, now we have a few minutes to exchange among ourselves whatever is our experience of honesty, our thoughts, and how you view honesty, and is it important for you, or anything that is going on in your mind. Please feel free to speak up here at Tushita and online. I think you have the option to unmute your microphone, and you can also just speak up.
Oh, is that anyone online?
Yes. I think this is the sixth session that we have, and usually people are very chatty about the values, but maybe honesty is a different one. Gagan, please.
One thing regarding honesty that's always a sort of a fight is that, especially when we are dealing with people, and if we are really using honesty in our speech, then it can really damage your relations and you know, the intimate closeness that you have with people. So that if you, but every day you live with people and you connect with people and your family and your friends, and you see a lot of things going on, and you're clearly aware of a lot of things, and you want to be honest, especially when you're also taught that you can't. So you have to choose one or the other. So where does honesty and integrity fits there?
I hope you could hear online what Gagan said, and if anybody would like to react, please go ahead, or if you'd like to share other thoughts about honesty, please also welcome to share. In the definition that the 16 guidelines give, I find one point very interesting. It says, it requires us to align our words and deeds with our core values, embracing transparency and accountability. I remember when I was a kid or a teenager, my father always was insisting, do what you say and say what you do. He would always say that, like, if you commit to do something, do it. And if you can't do it, say it, so that people know if they can rely on you or not, and they can plan accordingly, I find this aspect interesting. You wanted to say something?
Are you Shantanu? I'm not, but
What's your name?
I'm Danish.
Danish.
Shantanu and we shared rooms at the retreat together.
That's right.
I think there is sort of dichotomy when it comes to honesty in my head, and that exists in the form of, well, ideally, everything's plain and perfect, if I'm being honest, with my own conscience, primarily, in the dynamic, in the relationship that I have. It's ideal to be honest, because then you don't have anything to worry about. There are no worries, there are no fears, and sort of as Buddhism would say, draw down the mental affliction, but keep it to the minimum. But interestingly, I could relate to what you had to say. There is also a fine line between white lies and things we say, things that we're dishonest about at times when our intention might be, so to say, pure. But what we're essentially doing is maybe in the macro scheme of things trying to protect our own energy or someone else's energy. So there is a dual nature to honesty in that sense.
Do you guys feel comfortable when you have to say a white lie to excuse yourself from going somewhere, for example, that you committed to go? Right. You feel a bit a discomfort, no?
You don't feel comfortable. You never feel comfortable, but when you are aware of the discomfort that's about to come, if you will say your mind and you have to conserve that energy, so to say, like you said, then yeah, I think you have to make those tough choices right then and there.
And it's not about making you comfortable alone, it's about others also.
Yeah.
Like, for example, one of my dear friend who's now in South Africa, he has gone for work and he got a malaria over there and his health condition is very severe. I would say he is in very dire condition. Now, when his family calls me up and asks about the update, I can't reveal the whole information. I can't be honest with them. But I need to comfort them because either of us can't travel to that country, particularly as the situation is a little worse over there. So I need to both comfort them and as well as I need to look after my friend. So now here being honest is not the priority, but making them comfortable with the minimum information, giving them minimum information, but not being 100% honest to them will help them morally, mentally, and would keep them in peace at least till he recovers. Then later, if they come to know about his real situation, that would be a different thing. But now being honest will not do any good to them. So though it gives discomfort to me, it gives comfort to others. And I need to act based on the situation, and I concur with what my friends say regarding that white lies. So this situation, being honest, would not help actually.
Then I have a follow-up question for the three of you. So, say you're invited to go somewhere and you committed to come. Meanwhile, another invitation comes and it sounds more appealing. So, to excuse yourself from the first invitation, you say a white lie and you go to the second one. And the reason you say a white lie is to make the first person that invited you comfortable, right? But it makes you feel uncomfortable. Now imagine they find out what you did. How do they feel? The first person who invited you, they find out that you said a white lie and you went to the other invitation.
That would break the trust between them. That would break the trust. That's the first thing that comes.
And I think the discomfort is going to be far greater than it would have. We could have.
Nicola,
Yes, please.
I think a white lie example would be, for example, I mean, if a person is, unwell and they tell their parents that they're okay, just to like not make them stress out. And they take care of themselves without letting anybody know, and and once they're okay, then they let the other person know. It's sort of like, wanting to take care of another person also in that case. I don't know what does honesty say about that, or this quality, like what, how do we explain that?
It's interesting because my whole life I never heard the word white lie until I first came to India 10 years ago. I feel it's like a word that was invented to justify lying, no? Ajay was saying something on the chat. He said, honesty needs a lot of courage and conviction with sharp awareness. Okay, if anybody would like to share something urgently, you can do. Otherwise, we can go ahead with the analytical meditation and then we can talk more afterwards. And Raka, I think you were trying maybe to say, but we cannot hear you. I see that you are unmuted, but there is no sound coming from your microphone. So maybe if you have a microphone that is plugged into your device, maybe unplug it and try to speak in the microphone of the device itself. Okay, otherwise we'll just go ahead with the guided meditation on honesty. So again, rest your hands where it feels more comfortable, either palms up or down, on your knees or on your lap. The back should be naturally upright but not stiff. The arms and shoulders should be relaxed. You can drop your chin slightly forward but not too much. Otherwise that could promote falling asleep. Just so that your neck is aligned with the spine, basically, so that you are naturally straight. Gaze gently downwards in a way that avoids visual distractions. Or if you prefer, you can lightly close your eyes. Now that you are comfortably seated, turn your attention to the breath as it enters and leaves the body. Start by taking 3 long, slow breaths and allow the air to enter deeply so that the stomach rises and falls with each breath. Now let us analyze. What do we mean by honesty? And why is it relevant to a happy life? What are the effects of a dishonest word or action on ourselves and on the other person? Is a small act of honesty or dishonesty as significant as a large one? Perhaps we could rephrase this question. Is a white lie as significant as a big lie? Can we become more honest when we are present? The 16 Guidelines program defines honesty as acting with transparency and fairness. Every culture has its own version of what transparency and fairness actually mean. So this is a complex issue. However, we cannot escape the fact that we each have our own inner sense of right and wrong. We know when we are not being transparent and fair. The question is whether we listen to this inner voice or not. Or if we let ourselves become so preoccupied or so cynical that we ignore it. It's a personal choice. Every individual has the opportunity to be straightforward and honest in their dealings with others. Imagine a world where all behaved fairly, acted justly, and kept our financial affairs simple and straightforward. Now recall a moment when someone was dishonest towards you. Perhaps you have a memory of being cheated when you were trying to buy something. Or maybe somebody lied to you to get themselves out of a difficult situation. Perhaps you've experienced someone stealing a treasured possession. Can you remember what it felt like to be on the receiving end of dishonesty? What taste did it leave in your mouth? Has it affected your outlook or your own behavior? Now, recall a moment when you were not completely honest yourself. It could also be a moment where you were only tempted to be dishonest. Here are some examples. Have you ever taken stationery from work or used the office copy machine without the permission? Have you avoided paying a bus or a train fare? Are your taxes up to date? Have you deliberately lied to someone for your personal advantage? Try to remember such an instant of dishonesty in your life, but not something too big. Keep it small and manageable. Do you remember back then? How did it make you feel? And why do you still remember it now? The 16 guidelines propose that there is no such thing as a good or a bad person. Instead, it is what we think, what we say, or what we do, which is either skillful or unskillful, depending on whether our intention is to help or to harm the living beings around us. And if we do act in an unskillful way, we can use it as an opportunity to learn and move on. We will do a short 5-step exercise that will give you a taste of doing exactly that. To start, bring to mind a small example of when you behaved in a way that was not completely fair or honest. It could be something you did or said, or even just something you thought. Keep something small, like a white lie, or using the copy machine at work without permission, or something like that. Holding that example of dishonesty in the forefront of our mind, our first step is to regret that action. Regret is the recognition that we have done something that we wish we had not done, something which offends our own sense of right and wrong. It's completely different from guilt, which is much more complex and often unhelpful, in which a negative action reinforces a negative sense of who we are. Instead, take confidence in your willingness to regret something that you wish you had not done. Once we have generated a clear and strong sense of regret, the second step is to take refuge. Taking refuge in something gives us inspiration and something higher to aspire to. If we have a connection with a religious tradition, we might take refuge in God, Allah, or the Buddha, or in a teacher that we respect. Alternatively, we can take refuge in the wiser part of ourselves that is capable of going beyond such lapses in behavior. Refuge is like an umbrella that protects us from the elements. The third step is to apply a remedy of some kind. If we have taken something that was not offered to us, we can look for a way to return it. If we have told a lie, we might choose to apologize to the person that is concerned. Or it might be more appropriate to identify a remedy that is private and internal. If the incident happened a long time ago, can we find something that will act as a counterbalance, such as giving money to charity or lending a hand to someone in a similar situation? The choice is ours, so long as it is driven by a genuine wish to make amends. The fourth step is to make a resolution. If possible, to do our very best to never repeat the same action again, never to cause harm in this way, never to offend our sense of right and wrong. However, it is important to be realistic, and sometimes resolving never to do an action again is not realistic. For example, it might be more practical to resolve not to repeat that action for a certain period of time, such as a month, a week, or even 1 hour. Again, the choice is ours as to which resolution will be the most helpful in strengthening our desire to learn and to move on. The fifth step is to rejoice, to feel really satisfied and pleased at what we have just done to counteract our tendency to behave unskillfully. Rejoicing is more powerful than anyone can imagine. Feeling good about how we have thought, spoken, or acted has a deep effect on our mind, and it makes it much more likely that we will stick to our good intentions. These 5 steps, regret, refuge, remedy, resolution, and rejoicing, might initially seem a bit clumsy and forced. However, they quickly become familiar and can help turn all kinds of situations into opportunities to learn and grow. May the practice of honesty enrich our lives and the lives of beings around us. Gently come out of the meditation. And now again we have an opportunity to exchange among ourselves, and in particular, if this meditation had any impact or not on you and what you thought about this analytical meditation. Also, since it's a pilot series of meditation, any feedback on the format is very welcome. I will gather all this feedback and send to the organizers. so that next year when these meditations are launched, all this feedback is included as well.
Allows us to this session allows us to take back to that moment where we question our deeds, especially being honest at that time, which we would have never done before. That helps us to more evaluate ourselves and reconsider, or at least think whether it's necessary for that situation. And that helps.
Anyone else would like to say something? Again, online, you can just unmute yourself, and here, please just speak up. I think at GG.
Yeah, I think the meditation made me really aware of some of the things which I shouldn't have done. I think that awareness really comes up in this meditation. So normally one may not be aware that one has done something wrong. It may be buried there in the mind, but the way you really led, I became aware of some of the things which I really felt I should not have really done. And going through the remedy brought a kind of the shift in the mind. There was a kind of the cognitive shift from that wrongdoing to the refuge, maybe in some wisdom or some Buddha. I think I really found it quite good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajayji. Actually, these 5 steps of regret, refuge, remedy, resolution, and rejoicing. About, I think, 9 years ago, I did a meditation retreat on these for a while, and after the retreat, so many things came to my mind of these honest things I've done in the past, or maybe as a kid, I would have stolen something from a shop and things like that. And yeah, after the retreat, I decided to actually do something about, like, to counteract these actions, to apply a remedy, not just in my mind, but like physically. And so whatever I still had, I stole from a shop when I was a kid. I just went to the shop and just put it where I found it back then, or if I didn't have it, then I would make a donation or somehow, try to repair a little bit.
That is really interesting. Thank you, Nicola, for this. Just wanted to say that, yeah, I completely agree with Ajiji, how, these smaller sort of instances come up in such a meditation, which you don't even really think are, anything large or anything, like, almost doesn't even qualify as a white lie, but they just do come up in certain ways of, doing the meditation. And I was also, what came up for me was also the thought that arises before the lying even begins, or the dishonesty even begins. The idea of dishonesty, and how that moment, if it arises in my mind that, oh, I can be dishonest here, that itself is, what I was sort of trying to work with. So I was thinking that, that would be very interesting to somehow integrate in the meditation itself, how not just the act of dishonesty, or, after dishonesty has been committed, but before it's being committed, just the thought itself, and how we can battle that. And maybe even, trying to look at ways of how looking the other way when somebody else is being dishonest, because I think that also really happens around the world, and a lot of us who are not actively committing dishonest deeds are still, we're still surrounded by dishonest people everywhere, and sometimes we just have no other choice but to look away, and or maybe sometimes even subtly encourage somebody else's dishonesty. So I just thought those very sort of precursor instances can also be somehow maybe integrated into the meditation. That would be interesting too.
Thank you, Purvala.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I completely agree, because as a trainer myself with like Teach for India and UNICEF, so I think this sounded very heavy in a way, because it was a very general definition. I think it has to be very gendered, it has to be very age specific. I think some examples should have been there. I don't know what's the format, like do you have only the definition, or do you have some artistic appeal to this? Because I think it was very boring in a way, it was very heavy, like, to be honest. So I don't know what's the, that maybe I have to look deeper into that, but it was quite heavy. If my audience, let's say, is somewhere, age 13 to 17 years of old age, which being should be, so I think for that, it may be too heavy to meditate on virtues, the secular virtues, if I'm like, talking about that. So.
Example of honesty.
Yeah, I think the audience of these meditations is people who are already looking inwards, people who are meditating, people who are,
It's not for children.
No.
Because I did check the website, not even for the teenagers.
I don't think so, no. Actually, these meditations are designed for, people like you who come to the Dharma centers, basically. Yeah. But also in the companies and things like that, but not specifically for children. I think they have other programs for children. But yeah, it is a bit heavy, right? Because it puts you in front of a mirror, kind of, no? Yeah. Yes, please.
I think a bit of visualizations, as we started with visualizing or imagining an instance, perhaps as we went through these opponent powers, if we stopped at each step and took some time to just surround ourselves with that, for example, with the refuge or the remedy, would have been more nurturing, in my opinion. I would think so.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I had the same thought while going through the 5 points, that it was a bit too general and not really focused on that very action that we had in mind, right? Yeah. That's definitely one feedback that I will share.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So we talked about these 5 steps to take. Is this is similar to the 4 opponent powers that we study in the Mahayana tradition? So is the 5th step just a breakdown of one of the steps into 2, and that's how we reach the 5, or is there an added step?
Yeah, I think that's exactly where they are taken from, but presented in a secular way, because the 4 opponent powers in the Mahayana context, they're very, in the Mahayana context, right? You take refuge in a specific deity, for example, or in the Buddha. Here we're talking more general, and then rejoicing. Yeah, and the remedy also is like reciting sutras or mantras or doing prostrations or the quite religious practices, right? Here we're talking about doing something opposite to counteract the negative deed we have done, for example. So, yeah, as all these meditations they are based on Buddhist principles, but only the essence, the secular meaning is taken out. So that's how these four opponent powers were changed into these 5 steps. And the rejoicing is added, yes, yeah. But in Buddhist practice, rejoicing is a very common practice. If you look at every sadhana, like every practice, rejoicing is there. Because they say it's a very powerful tool, rejoicing, to generate so much positive potential in your mind for transformation. Just 1 second, rejoicing of the good actions of someone else can really help your mind to transform. And it also counteracts jealousy, which is also disturbing the mind, right? Okay, I think we can end the discussion here. And let us try to think of ways, we can bring honesty into our daily lives throughout the coming week. And next week, next Monday, we'll meditate on generosity. So now we can take a moment to dedicate the positive energy and any increased understanding that we might have had during this session, so that all those who are ill, mentally or physically, have good health. Those who are hungry or thirsty, for them to have food and drink. To those who are being harmed by violence, war, or conflict, to be at peace. To those who don't have a home, to be warm and safe. Or cold, if they live in a hot country. This was written in England, So if you don't have a house in England, of course you're cold. But here is the opposite, no? I mean, in summer. To those who are challenged with loneliness, disharmony, or financial pressures, to end their worries and increase their happiness. How wonderful if everyone in the room, on Zoom, watching the recording later on YouTube, everyone in the country and in the world, if everyone were to reach their potential. Thank you very much, and see you next week for the meditation on generosity. And this week at Tushita, we'll meet you tomorrow for chanting the names of the Noble Manjushri. These are prayers that we do once a month, I would say, for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's the founder of Tushita and actually the whole FPMT, co-founded with Lama Yeshe. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche took the aspect of passing away last year. And, in the Tibetan tradition, when such an enlightened master leaves his body, we pray for him to come back, continue to guide us, continue also in this case to lead the whole FPMT. For example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is known as the 14th Dalai Lama, 14th reincarnation. And then on Saturday, for the second time, we are organizing sutra writing here at Tushita, Saturday at 2 p.m. So this is designed for kids mostly, but of course everyone is welcome, because the merit, of writing sutras, Lama Zopa Rinpoche said, just one letter or just one syllable, you accumulate so much potential to transform your mind by doing that. And of course, this is something kids would enjoy, if you have like a, how is it called in English, to have, it's already pre-written and then you offer color to it. beautiful colors or be creative, and you write the letters again on top of it. So most welcome to join us for that on Saturday, and especially with children and teenagers that would be happy to participate. Maybe we'll try to also have something fun for them. Maybe not candies, not very healthy maybe, but we can think of something. Okay, and then of course every morning, Monday to Friday, we have the guided meditation at 9 a.m. And Monday to Friday is always on Zoom. And from this week, actually, we are introducing 3 sessions per week in person. So you can join here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you can also join in person at the center at 9 a.m. Thank you very much, everyone, and see you. Have a good night.